Final chapter. The resolve of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Ooh! Wait, hold on, bro. The final chapter, Old Bailey music kinda hit, bro. So, time's finally come. Today, we unravel everything. I began on your support more than ever today, Mr. Sada. Ah, this music's going stupid. Mr. Sada? Hey, imagine a mod being late to stream. My mods are always late. Oh no! What's the matter, Mr. Naruto? Nothing? I was just saying that we rely on your support today, but I'm so sorry, of course. I know I can be rather incompetent at times, but I shan't let you down. Would you mind helping me to my feet then? Oh dear! I'm really very sorry. Susato-san isn't her usual self at all. Well, that's hardly surprising, I suppose. She just found out that her father is the partner of a world-famous detective. Not to mention... Ah, good morning, sir. And that Iris might be her lost sister. Lord Van Zykes! Thank you for all your efforts yesterday. What? Did I hear that correctly? What? Oh, no, nothing. Just, I hope we can clear things up today. I really can't make this man out. His face says, I hate you. But his words are almost jovial today. In fact, he hasn't been very Reaper-like at all since this all began yesterday. Lord Van Zykes isn't the Reaper, Mr. Naruhodo. Good point. A Reaper? I suppose in hindsight, I shouldn't have allowed that misconception to go unchallenged. Huh? It was my tacit acceptance of that pseudonym. My failure to stop the Reaper becoming something more than a mere legend that led to all this. But you're not to blame for that, Lord Van Zykes. It's only because serious crime in the capital dropped off so sharply when the public started calling you that. That's why you didn't say anything, isn't it? To be frank, I'm not sure that was the sole reason. What do you mean? There was a rumor at the time that the Reaper was really the ghost of my late brother. They haven't been slain by that evil killer. Clint's restless spirit returned as some sort of demigod. Wield the deadly blade of justice where I, by dint of the law, could not. Yes, we've heard that story too. When I lost him, I felt, though, I lost my guiding light. I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so, in some small way, I wonder if perhaps those rumors made me feel his absence a little less keenly. Even if I knew it was just an illusion, just some nonsense conjured up by an over-imaginative public, who's obviously extremely important to you. Lord Clinton Van Zykes. Well, what's important now is uncovering the truth. That's all that matters. I know that he didn't take anyone's life. And I intend to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in court today. I never thought I'd say this, but I can see it in your eyes. That burning desire to cut through all the lies and deception. I can't deny it any longer. You are a lawyer of absolute integrity. Thank you. Now tell me, why do I detect the scent of expensive tea leaves in the air? Iris? Oh, Iris! When did you get here? Oh! Ah, brought you one of my special blends. Hurley loves it. He says it helps him to clear his head. I thank you. Oh. That's surely the first and last time I'll ever see a sight like this. You seem different today, Iris. Oh? Sort of subdued, I suppose. I am not. What happened yesterday is obviously still playing on her mind a lot. She's clearly very troubled about having stolen that autopsy report from Dr. Sight's laboratory. Alright then, good luck to you both. I have to make a move now. Oh, you're not staying? I thought you want to watch today's proceedings. Well, I'd like to cheer you on, obviously. But I've got lots to get ready. Get ready? For what? Oh, yes! Would you take this? Isn't that one of the little felt dolls that usually dangling from your knapsack? Yes, it's a Lucky Charm. A little Hurley that I made once. Oh, a Hurley? Looks more like a Hairley to me. But for some reason, you completely run out of options in the trial today. Now just pull this little Hurley's ear as hard as you possibly can. What? Pull his ear? That's right. It's a way to bring good luck. I think you might need it. Uh-oh. A little doll of Mr. Sholmes in hair form. Excuse me. I've been told to tug its ear if I run out of options in the trial today. You think what we'll need is luck? I just sneaked a peek inside the courtroom. And it seemed very different to normal. Yes, it would seem that a certain someone has decided to pull out all the stops. What does that mean? What about Mr. Sholmes, Iris? I don't know. He was out all night. He had to come home by the time I left this morning. Oh, I see. Was Professor Miko Toba out all night too, do you think, Mr. Sato? Yes, it would seem so. I telegrammed the hotel this morning. And apparently, they didn't come back to their rooms last night at all. Eh? Father and Judge Chikoku, I mean. Judge Chikoku, too? That's right. Nobody appears to have seen either of them since yesterday. Oh, wow. Uh-oh. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Please make your way inside the courtroom at once. Good luck then, Runo. Good luck, Susie. Yes, thanks, Iris. And you, Mr. Reaper. I hope it goes well. Once again, I thank you for the delicious tea. It was very soothing. Oh, I'm so glad. Must go inside now, Lord Van Zykes. What's different in here? Lord Van Zykes has always been the formidable prosecutor I've locked horns with in court. But not today. Today, I battle with another in pursuit of the truth. My best friend, Kazuma Asogi, who I trust more than anyone else in the world. Now I understand what it was that drew me here to Britain all those months ago. Now I know exactly what destiny had in store for me. It's all been leading up to this one day, to this one trial, to this one final reckoning. Ah, shit, bro. Where's the judge? Feels even more oppressive here than it did yesterday. There are cold stares piercing me like knives from all sides today. Ah! Mr. Dohoto, look! What? Lord Strongheart? Cosmo must have known beforehand. The ramifications of this trial now extend far beyond the murder of one Scotland Yard inspector. In fact, events have come to light that threaten to rock the very foundations of our country's legal system. The escape of a condemned criminal on the night of his execution, subsequent unlawful shooting of the man, and the revelation that prison staff must have been complicit in the jailbreak. Britain is currently hosting influential members of the judiciary from countries all around the world. It is imperative that we uncover the truth in these proceedings to avoid international embarrassment. By royal decree, this will continue to be a closed trial, and one over which I, male Strongheart, exercise total and unequivocal authority. The 6 jurors' flames just... And was the case in yesterday's proceedings, those here present in the public gallery are distinguished members of our judiciary, assembled to bear witness to a fair judicial process. In other words, a collection of your acolytes, Lord Strongheart. On a personal note, I find this most distressing, Lord Van Zyke. You are a prosecutor of exceptional talent. Much like your brother Clint, in fact. Oh, wow. That makes a whole different noise. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. For the trial of Barak Van Zyke, who officially stands accused of murder. Counsels for the prosecution and defense, are you in full readiness to proceed? The fact Lord Strongheart is the judge is kind of crazy, bro. This music is going in. Yeah, they pulled all the stops for this final trial, bro. The defense is ready, my lord. As is the prosecution. Yesterday's proceedings brought to light a shocking and disturbing fact. There was a side to the victim, Inspector Tobias Gregson, that was unknown to his superiors at Scotland Yard. Yes, he was carrying out operations in secret, which Scotland Yard knew nothing about. In those clandestine operations, he had an accomplice. Mr. Daily Vigil, who would be given the inspector's identification and present himself around the capital in order to establish credible alibis for Gregson. In that way, Gregson appeared to be carrying out his regular Scotland Yard work when in fact he wasn't. At the end of yesterday's session, Mr. Vigil, who had been suffering from amnesia, regained his memory. It would appear he buried his memories of the time deep inside himself as a means of self-preservation. Because whilst he was engaged as chief warder at Barclay Prison, he abetted the convicts' escape. Mr. Vigil is currently recuperating at St. Sinners. He's recovered enough to give a signed statement about his movement on the day prior to the incident. He's formally admitted to posing as Gregson whilst investigating the Red-Headed League. Which brings us to the crucial issue of the victim's time of death. The defense yesterday proposed a suggestion that the victim may have been killed 1 day earlier. This was based largely on the discovery that the victim's pocket watch had not been wound. Prosecution has something to report on that subject, my lord. Really? Go ahead, Prosecutor Asogi. I met once again with the coroner yesterday to discuss the issue. She confirmed that the defense's suggestion could not be ruled out. It's entirely possible that Inspector Gregson was killed on 31st of October, the day before his body was discovered. I have here an updated autopsy report that includes the amended details. But the official opinion of the investigation team was made clear yesterday. Yet the time of death was 5 p.m. on 1st of November. There are indications of an attempt to disguise the real time of death, however. It seems that the natural decaying processes of the victim's body may have been slowed by keeping it chilled. That's out of the question. You're the judge, shut up! There are no refrigeration devices in that part of London large enough to accommodate a human corpse. My lord, this is more than just conjecture. There's evidence to support the idea. We must investigate it thoroughly. Very well. The court will accept the new report as evidence. However, if this updated report is deemed to be accurate, it would give renewed significance to the movements of the victim on the day before the Fresno Street incident. It would, yes, especially since on that day, Inspector Gregson was using Mr. Vigil to cover up his real movements. It's conceivable that he was killed in the course of his secret activities. Do I sense that the prosecution has some information regarding those activities? Scotland Yard put in an enormous effort into investigating that precise matter yesterday. I think we should begin by presenting the results of that investigation work. So the prosecution calls its first witness now. Is this going to be Gina? Alright. State your name and occupation for the court. Inspector Gina Lestrade reporting. Reaper sensitive of Scotland Yard. A self-conferred rank. But never mind. Gina? Again? What's your problem, Odo? What's with that Gina again look, eh? Ah! Your boss meant the world to me. He's done more for me than anyone else ever did. Oh? Inspector Gregson, you mean? He got me out the back slums in the East End and took me under his wing. Tell me that life can have a purpose. So that's why I'm the best person to be standing here speaking for him. Oh, Gita. Right. I'll have the goodness of Gregson's heart. Not at all. That he had his arm twisted by Mr. Sholmes. No. What's relevant to the proceedings is that the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations yesterday has revealed that the victim was carrying out some assignment the police knew nothing about. Very troubling. That face. Lord Strongheart knew. So, Inspector Lestrade, let's hear exactly what it says in that report. Coming right up, sir. Alright. All Yard's detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. But a little search of the boss's office turned up a notebook that had a load of secret meetings in it. According to that, the boss was looking into some smuggled goods dealings that day. Looks like it was a big job and all, but the coppers weren't onto it yet. What matters most is there's witnesses what saw the Reaper at the place too. Smuggled goods? I don't know, do I? I'm just telling you what was written in the book. Tobacco, tea, spices, medicines, goods of all sorts flow into London by illegal channels from across the globe. So it's well known that they're disposed of at irregular black markets that take place in the capital. But the police are rarely able to locate them in time. So Inspector Gregson was investigating one of those black markets? It's been suggested that high-ranking government officials may be involved in black market activity. No doubt Gregson was trying to avoid details of his investigations being leaked to the involved parties. That would explain why he was operating on his own authority without the Yard's knowledge. And do we know where the dealings were taking place this time? In a particular room of a certain exclusive London gentleman's club. And on the day in question, the accused is known to have been there. That's a conclusion of Scotland Yard's investigation into the matter. A list? That can't be. We haven't heard anything about any of this. Members of the club have testified to it. There's no question. The accused, Balrock Van Zykes, was present. That would be very significant testimony then. Oh my, but Lord Van Zykes has made no mention of this at all. In short, Lord Van Zykes had ample opportunity to murder the victim. God, that's such a cool gavel horn or gavel sound. Very well then, counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination.
Hold it!
So you went through Inspector Gregson's things? Yep. As part of the independent Lestrade investigation. I'm sure your superiors would be delighted that you're taking the initiative. So I snuck into his office when no one else was about. Because if anyone at the Yard had seen me going in there, they had turned me straight out on the streets. This is sounding less and less like an investigation and more like something else. Prosecution understands that it was this very detective who discovered the notebook. You got that right. Nothing gets past Inspector Lestrade and her trusty assistant, Chief Inspector Toby. We found it hidden in one of his desk drawers that had a false bottom. That's impressive. So then I went to hide myself where no one could find me, so I could have a butcher's at what was written in it. Because if anyone at the yard had found me, they'd have turfed me straight out into the street. I've given it in now, though, ain't I? If it weren't for me, it would have never been found.
Hold it!
Do you have any idea where those dealings were taking place? Yep. It was all there in the boss's notes. Let's see if I can remember. As I already said, the illegal dealings were due to take place at a gentleman's club. Yes, I remember. But I was hoping to find out the name of the club. That won't be necessary. What? It's conceivable that the club might be used again by the smugglers in future. Therefore, prosecution has been asked not to reveal the name in these proceedings. I don't know what all the fuss is about. It's right here. All I've got to do is read it out. And I could, too. I've got this reading game buttoned up now. Can't I show you what I can do? Go on. What's the harm? What's the harm? The judge hasn't signaled his objection yet. I could try to find out. What should I do? This is a closed court. Proceedings are confidential. There shouldn't be any possibility of the information being leaked. As I explained, there is some possibility of politicians being involved in this affair. Prosecution is rightfully exercising caution, I imagine. No, my lord. The prosecution has no objection. Ooh, Kazuma? There's no question that the Inspector Gregson was looking into these black market dealings. However, it's not yet been established that he was on that particular trail on the day in question. If the defense requires to know the club's name, prosecution has no intention of being obstructive. Oh, Strongheart's pissed. Right then. I get to show off my reading skills. The Grouse.
Hold it!
The Grouse? I think that's how you pronounce it. What sort of club is that? I ain't got the foggiest. Clubs ain't exactly my thing. But I am kind of curious. They're not places where a forward student like you would be reading readily unmuted. Have you looked in the mirror recently? I tell you what. Me and Chief Inspector Toby can go in undercover. Could you, though? I could pick out a few good marks and see what else I could find out while I was in there. I really don't think you should go picking out anything. Anyway, that's where these black market dealings were going to take place, is it? Yeah, it's gotta be. That's what the lower ranking detectives at the yard reckon. Says the even lower ranked detective.
Hold it!
So how had Inspector Gregson come to find out about it in that case? That's the question, ain't it? But I'm just an apprentice, so... And why didn't he inform Scotland Yard of his findings? Yeah, that's what I was asking myself. Because, you know, I'm just an apprentice. But it suits you, yes. Anyway, the point is, something went on in that club, no question. Can't say that for certain, though, surely.
Hold it!
Lord Van Sykes was at the club? He was. Detectives who visited the club yesterday to make inquiries have confirmed it. Several members report having seen the accused being admitted to the room in question as a guest. Notice there's no disputing that he was there then. Well, we know that Lord Van Sykes was investigating Inspector Gregson, don't we? Perhaps he'd already discovered the inspector's secret notebook. Which led him to the club, you mean? Maybe. Presumably, then, there are also eyewitnesses who can testify that Gregson was there? None have been identified at this time, no. So the all-important victim wasn't seen at this mysterious club. Oi! Why aren't you asking Inspector Lestrade here, eh? So that's all I've got to work with. Gina's not holding back with that ice-cold stare of hers, is she? I really don't know what to make of all this. Lord Van Sykes told us that he was investigating Inspector Gregson, but he never once mentioned that he met the inspector the day before the incident. You don't think Lord Van Sykes could have been lying to us, do you? That's not the only way to explain this. Oh, everything Lord Van Sykes has told us is true, and there must have been a mistake in this testimony somewhere. You mean there are details we have yet to uncover? Clue. I mean, this is the only one I haven't.
Hold it!
So you follow orders, do you, Gina? Nah, not me. I'm above all that, see? Oh? The boss has always had special orders for me. Grab us some fish and chips or going to give Toby his grub, that kind of thing. So errands more than orders then. This detective is still an apprentice after all. Yeah, well, this apprentice ain't one to sit around and wait to be told what to do, even by the boss. That's why I've been doing me own investigations into what happened. I didn't find much at first. Looks like some sort of steamship ticket. The SS Grouse. Oh my fucking god, bro. Yeah, I would have never got this, bro. I would have never gotten this, bro. The SS Grouse, first class cabin. 001. Yokohama departure, 11th of September. London arrival, 1st November. Ah, that's the boat that Professor Mikotoba and Judge Goku came on from Japan, isn't it? Come on, Goo. What do you mean, come on, Goo? How was I supposed to know this was on the back? Yes, I think it's called Dunkirk on the north coast of France for a night before finally arriving at Dover. I think it's been almost a year since we arrived in Dover on the SS Buret.
Objection!
I've read about these clubs that exist here in Britain. As I understand it, they're places where well-to-do gentlemen socialize with friends and colleagues. Don't imagine for a second that a Ford student like you would be admitted. Seriously, is your mirror cracked or something? Do we know for sure that the contraband dealings were definitely happening at a club called the Grouse? The police are currently looking for evidence, but haven't found anything definitive yet. And I'm sorry to say that they probably won't. What do you mean by that? I mean, that the police Inspector Gregson was secretly going to visit on the 31st of October may not have been a gentleman's club at all. You're showing a very irreverent attitude towards our country's police force there, Counsel. If it wasn't a gentleman's club, then what was it? A steamship. You think it's a ship? I have the evidence to prove it. Here. Let me see that. This dark-suited young man is not in the least bit untrustworthy. The other side, my lord. Be more specific next time. This would appear to be a ticket for a passage upon a steamship, yes. The SS Grouse.
Objection!
Still, there's a steamship named the Grouse that happens to share a name with the club. But I'm afraid to say, there's a flaw in your logic there. How? Look at the ticket. Notice the day of arrival in port. The ship arrived at the port of Dover on 1st November. The day on which the sound like a gunshot was heard on Fresno Street. In other words, on the day in question here, 31st of October, when the victim was on his clandestine mission, that ship hadn't yet docked on British shores. That would certainly make an undercover investigation somewhat challenging.
Objection!
The fact that the steamship hadn't yet reached Britain substantiates the defense's assertion that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the day in question. Let's show you evidence for that assertion. Very well. In that case, counsel for the defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim investigating the SS Grouse on the 31st October.
Take that!
What's this? A passport for travel issued to the victim? Dated 31st October. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that just one day before the inspector's body was discovered, there's a distinct possibility he wasn't even in the country. He got killed out of the country? This document is for passage to France. It does appear to have been officially authorized. The day before the SS Grouse arrived at Dover, it docked on the northern coast of France for a night. According to my father, who was on board at the port of Dunkirk. Dunkirk, France. What could possibly have taken the victim there? I'm impressed, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I certainly didn't expect you to get your hands on that passport. What? You mean you knew about this? You bitch. Prosecution strategy for this trial has been laid down by the Crown Prosecution Office. On the day before the incident, the victim was investigating contraband dealings at a London club. That's the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations that the line of prosecution has been asked to follow. But personally, I don't agree. I think the prosecutor's office is trying to hide something. Oh, what? And now that you've expertly disproven their assertion, I intend to reveal what I believe that something to be. What are you playing at, Prosecutor Asogi? Wait, so drug deal gone bad? No, drug deal is just a cover-up. A courtroom is a form of the truth for the truth, my lord. Which is why it's my duty to present all the facts, without exception. Let me guess. This was your intention from the outset, wasn't it? The reason Inspector Gregson secretly made his way on the steam ship docked in France on the day in question was to carry out a mission for the Reaper. The Reaper? Ding, ding, ding. What on earth are you saying, counsel? Prosecution made an assertion in court yesterday. Never heard of a drug deal for a cover-up. Well, there you go, bruh. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. I'm sure everyone can imagine. By the Reaper's hand. But in reality, the truth is the opposite of that. What? Inspector Gregson wasn't investigating the Reaper at all. He was, in fact, acting for the Reaper. So, you're saying the mission he was undertaking was, obviously, an assassination. Barak Van Zykes never carried out of any of the actual killings. Whenever the Reaper's victims lost their lives, he always had a cast iron alibi. Which tells us that he must have had an accomplice. And you claim that was Inspector Gregson? What the hell do you think you're saying, eh? My boss would never do nothing like that. And yet, when you consider all the facts, it all makes perfect sense. No, it can't be. We also arrived at the same conclusion, didn't we? That Inspector Gregson was operating as the Reaper. Even so, there's no way that the person giving him his orders was Lord Van Zykes. No, the true Reaper is somebody else. Barak Van Zykes is not the Reaper. A predictable response from someone who's advocating for the man. And even if it's true that Gregson was operating as an agent of the Reaper, the suggestion that he went aboard the SS Grouse on an assassination mission doesn't follow at all. Reaper? The Reaper of the Bailey. Oh, you have some solid reason for doubting the assertion, do you, counsel? Absolutely. It's very simple. On the day in question, nobody was killed aboard that steamship. First Miko Toba and Judge Jikoku were on that very ship. If somebody had been assassinated, I'm certain we would have heard about it. What's so funny? You're right, of course. No suspicious deaths were reported on board the ship. But I think, perhaps you missed the point. That's precisely why Inspector Gregson himself lost his life. What? Gregson did board the SS Grouse that night with the intention of dispatching his marks. But his mission ended in failure. Failure? You see that the defense hasn't yet grasped a very important detail here. What are you talking about? What detail? Inspector Gina Lestrade. Eh? What? The victim's notebook that you read an excerpt from earlier. That doesn't contain details of secret investigations at all. It describes 10 years of assassination plots to be carried out by the Reaper of the Bailey. You're lying. Even if all the bludgers what got taken out had it coming. The boss weren't the Reaper. Poor Gina. There's no question that Tobias Gregson was heavily involved in the Reaper's activities. You may just be an apprentice, but if you spent any time at Scotland Yard, you must have heard of rumors. I ain't heard nothing. I don't believe a word of it. And testify again as a representative of Scotland Yard. Consider it your chance to defend your boss. I don't. I concur. The witness will give a new formal testimony. Miss Lestrade, you will tell the court everything you know about Inspector Gregson's secret book. Uh-oh. The mole! Yeah, we're trying to find the mole, Bendy. Yeah, this notebook does have a lot of stuff about what the Reaper got up to these past 10 years. Names of victims, dates and places and stuff. And the last entry, and there was 31st of October. It said grouse for the place on that date, and then the name of the mark. There was a note about him being a criminal who got away from the Reaper in court 10 years ago or something. But honest, the boss didn't do none of it. He was just investigating the Reaper, that's all. Aww. Keep personal opinions out of your testimony, witness. We require only established facts here. This must be so hard for her. You can't deny it now, surely, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. What can't I deny? The notebook contained the name of the final mark and location where the assassination would take place. That's information that the victim could have only have known if he was working with the Reaper. So, who was to be this final mark? Go ahead, Inspector Lestrade. Read the name for the court. The name that's written alongside the entry that mentions the grouse on the 31st of October. How much you want to bet it was the judge? It was Jikoku. How do you read this then? Reading's still not her strong suit. That ain't the problem, alright, Odo? It's a funny name. It ain't English. It's hard to read. So it's someone from overseas? Let me have a bash at it. Ish. Arrow. Is it? Oh, Sashiro. Yeah, Sashiro. I fucking knew it! Jikoku. I knew it. Maybe? What? It can't be. Sashiro Jikoku? But that's Judge Jikoku. Sashiro Jikoku. Certainly not an English name, you're right.
Objection!
That can't be right. I know Judge Jikoku. I saw him the day before yesterday here in London. So I know for a fact that the man hasn't been assassinated. As I said, the Reaper failed. Oh. Gregson missed his chance to kill his mark and return to British shores. But the Reaper wouldn't tolerate the mistake. So he killed the inspector. Personally. The Reaper, of course, being the accused. Balrog van Zykes. It's an undeniably logical argument. Cosmo. You planned for the trial to go this way all along, didn't you?
Hold it!
Oh! Oh, is this Van Zykes? Let's go. Yeah, the foot! Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hollow chalice whilst I stand accused of murder. Lord Van Zykes? Accused has no right to speak uninvited in court. You will return to the dock. I say nothing of whether or not I'm the Reaper. That's the task of this court to decide. But there is one thing I can say unequivocally. That girl is no detective. Huh? What? No, that's right. I ain't. I'm an inspector. Repeating rumors heard around the yard. Reading entries from a notebook of unconfirmed origin. That's not testimony. It's practically a script. No doubt the rest of this trial will go exactly as you've clearly planned. Your hatred of me is understandable. In your mind, I'm sure, I am the Reaper, who sent your father to the gallows all those years ago. But you're in danger of becoming a far more sinister Reaper yourself. By attempting to have me condemned with this feeble excuse for testimony. What did you say? Mr. Naruhodo, this is our chance. My lord, the defense requests that the defendant be allowed to speak. He may be privy to important information relating to the testimony just given by the witness. He's gonna deny it. Oh wow, he let it go. Very well, I'll make an exception and grant the request. The defendant may remain in the witness stand for the cross-examination. Then allow me to toast the court's impartiality. Don't raise your glass in my direction, sir. Counsel for the defense, begin the cross-examination immediately. At once, my lord. I mean, this is pretty much tying up this entire series, so there's gonna be a lot that's happening.
Hold it!
So you have complete faith that Inspector Gregson is innocent in all this? Of course I do. I mean, I owe him that, don't I? Because he's the only one who had faith in me. Gina. The boss promised me he did. He promised me that even though I was just a diver, he could turn me into a top-notch detective. A cove with a cut art like that ain't gonna rob people of their futures, is he? Every single person killed by the Reaper was a criminal of the first order. Lowlifes like that have no compunction about robbing hundreds of others of their futures. Eh? The ludicrous acquittals in court give them the freedom to make hundreds more suffer. I don't... So what? You justify your actions because you were protecting innocent people's futures? I'm not suggesting that the Reaper's methods are justified at all. But life isn't black and white. That's all I'm saying. Alright, we're good. We don't need all this. Okay, Drew, we're gonna make it a full way. Ayo.
Hold it!
In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper. No, not you and all. That ain't the only explanation, is it? You could have been investigating the Reaper in secret, and that notebook said what he found. If I may. When originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believed the power to intimidate London's criminals classes and the compliance with the law to be beneficial. But you carried out your own investigations into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you? Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper. One arm? What are you on about? The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. There's simply no way one person could have taken them on alone. The Reaper is an organization. With you at its head? I had spies at the yard keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements and letting me know when he was elsewhere. So I'd been able to check the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location. You knew it said Grouse? Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate, alone. Ah, so that explains why several members of the club claim to have seen you there. But of course, the inspector was not there. because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal truck. Very well then. Back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook. Something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? You seemed a little shocked by something a moment ago. Oh. No, it's alright. I'm overthinking this, aren't I?
Hold it!
Wasn't he going to be going to France anyways? He was going to go to France with Gina and work there at Paris. So I feel like they got this all wrong. Name of victims, dates, places, and stuff. What in particular? Well, besides the victims' names, this other name kept cropping up. What other name was that? It's the one I told you yesterday. The same name written over and over again. You mean... Asa Shin? Yeah, that's the one. She's a friend of yours or something, isn't she? Were you even listening yesterday? Asa Shin. The assassin. What? Like, a killer, you mean? Gregson was a tactician, the ones who came up with the plans of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out when they would be vulnerable and who to use to get at them. But the person actually executing his plans was someone else, you're saying? That's true. And the Reaper does indeed start to sound like an organized group of vigilantes. Perhaps what it said on the passport document. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could that additional person have been clearly the assassin, who was meant to take Sashiro Jikoku's life? Gina, can you confirm that? Against the final entry that listed grounds and Sashiro Jikoku. What name was written? Oh, well, it's the only entry that didn't have a name next to it, as it happens. What? It just had like a question mark or something out there, I think. In other words, Gregson himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case. But Gregson was the one making the plans, was he not? Oh. How infuriating. A nameless assassin. And you're saying the mark listed was Sashiro Jikoku? That's what I said. Funny name if you ask me. But I thought your name was odd. So pleased to have lost my crown there. Mr. Jikoku was the presiding judge of Japan's Supreme Court of Judicature. I remember the man. He came to our country as a visiting student 16 years ago. Studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart. That bearded young fellow was a very able man, I must say. So Lord Strongheart was Judge Koku's mentor. If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now. 10 years ago, after that fateful case. Precisely. In the aftermath of the professor's case, his repatriation was organized immediately. It's a mystery why such a man would be listed in the inspector's notebook. I didn't think it was possible, but the mood in here's got even worse now. Maybe I'll just keep talking.
Hold it!
What do you mean a criminal? Judge Koku's no criminal. Well, don't ask me. I don't know nothing about it. Oh, do you remember what Father told us? That Judge Koku did up here in court here in Britain? It was related to the professor case, I'm sure. Yes, of course. You're right. Shiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand. He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire for which he was charged. It was a pitiful situation, yes. I'd forgotten all about it. But I prosecuted that trial too, as it happens. You did? It was considered to be an adjunct to the professor proceedings, you see. but he was acquitted after being told to make reparation for the damage caused to the stand. And there you have it. Have what? Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule. And there's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court, guilty or innocent alike. What? Oh. Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Goku was targeted for assassination? The man was sent back to Japan immediately after that trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you start to see just how vindictive the Reaper is. But Gina's still alive, you fuck! Come on, that's absurd. To take somebody's life for that? Isn't the whole premise for the Reaper absurd, killing those who have been found innocent? Clearly the rules by which the man operates are beyond a sane person's comprehension. But I'll say, what about Gina? Right. I've had just about enough of this. Gina? All this nonsense about the boss planning to kill people. It's cobblers. Come on, Odo. Yes? Why ain't you saying nothing? Why ain't you yelling out objection or some at? What? You've got to find a flaw. You do usually. Someone's lying here, no question. You've got to work out who it is. Please, for the boss. I miss Gregson. That outburst was an insult to the court and to your own testimony. I might have known that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make a detective. What? Hey! You dick! When this trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear? I've had it with a lot of you. It's lies every bleeding place you look in this world, isn't it? Well, I've had enough. So have I. After that little speech of Gina's, I've made up my mind. To do what, Mr. Naruhodo? There was one point in this cross-examination when something that was said just didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd. Oh, do you mean... I'm not going to let Gina's plea for help fall on deaf ears.
Hold it!
I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find my resolve. Eh? What do you mean? Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency. What? An inconsistency? Really, Odo? I don't quite know what it means yet, but... Yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by... Mr. Asogi over there.
Take that!
By you, Cosmo Asogi. Me? Is this some attempt to, a filibustering counsel? Prosecutor Asogi has given no testimony. What are you suggesting I said that was inconsistent? You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I present the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you'll realize what you've done. Very well then, counsel. Go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in something Prosecutor Asogi has said? He shouldn't know about the trunk, bruh.
Take that!
This is a trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson. A metal construction, has it? It's certainly very heavy. What's this? A blood stain, and a relatively fresh one too. What? You mean that ain't grease from all the boss's fish and chips? Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. That suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed. That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in Scotland Yard's report. Yes, there's a reason for that. Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it. But I found it, me, with me nose for trouble. Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. Oh. And yet, during the cross-examination of the witnesses just now, you said this, Cosmo. So the question is, how did you know about the inspector's trunk? We know the man went on a trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport?
Objection.
Okay. Liar. But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Cosmo. On 31st of October, where exactly were you? At the port of Dunkirk, on board the SS Grouse. Is that the answer you're looking for, Ryunosuke? Cosmo, what did you... I hadn't considered the possibility before, but if Cosmo was there on the ship then, it can only have been for one purpose. Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo, surely you don't think... Come on, Ryunosuke, you know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence. Scare magic. As I understand it, Inspector Gregson always took that case with him when he traveled. So as it stands, you've proved nothing. Cosmo, are you challenging me to prove it, beyond all reasonable doubt, that you were there that day, in the same place as the inspector? He was there? With Gregson? There's a clue that you've overlooked, a secret that trunk can tell us. Can't be sure at this point, I'll need to verify it. Well, I have a nasty feeling that I want to be right. I had a feeling when we first saw this slice. It's the slice. It's from a sword. The only person that carries a sword is Cosmo. The accusation being made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless, we must test it. The defense will identify for the culprit where in this trunk is the alleged clue to be found.
Got it!
There's a small piece of... It's a piece of sword! There's a small piece of metal lodged in the wall of the trunk here, like the tip of a blade. Yeah, a blade. Cosmo. Slung around your waist as ever today is the esteemed blade Karuma. Of course it is. Won't you draw it here in this courtroom? For all to see? Exercise caution, my learned friend. That man is the son of London's most notorious killer. Bailiff, watch Prosecutor Sogi like a hawk. That won't be necessary. Oh no. The tip is broken. The fragment of metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword. The question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed, Cosmo Sogi? Expertly done, Ryunosuke. That's a point to you, and well deserved. You mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Sogi? Imagine it don't fit. That'd be crazy. On 31st of October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. So the additional person authorized to travel was me. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. What? Cosmo? You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from this notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Jikoku? Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I feel like I've killed no one. I feel like he's covering up, bruh. I feel like this is all just a ruse. I feel like he's covering. Explain. I accept the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk. I never had any intention of carrying out the plan. You were never going to do it? We can't believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Shikoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded a train from London with Inspector Gregson. We traveled to Dover, when we were across the channel to Dunkirk. And we boarded the SS Grouse, and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Shikoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there though. We decided to wait, but you've already told us you had no intention of going through it with it anyway. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town, and returned to England the following morning. So why'd you accept it in the first place? A boarding house in Dunkirk? My signature will be there in the register book. It would be simple enough to verify. Then what became of Shikoku? Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. I met with the Reaper in that room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriating Mastermind to pull the trigger. Okay, but that doesn't... Then why'd you slash his trunk? He's missing like five parts, bro. It ended his wretched agent's life. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection!
But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk? I don't need to answer that. What? The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade isn't relevant to the case. My ass it isn't! And accordingly, I chose to exercise my right to silence on that matter. I choose to exercise my right to silence. Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence. As you wish, my lord. We must take immediate action now to verify whether Sashiro Shikoku remains unharmed. What? Remains unharmed? I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday. How did you... Would a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours? It's only natural that the question of his safety should arise. You don't mean to say that you think Judge Shikoku may have been killed? I swear to God, if the judge was killed, bro. Karuma, a great blade. It's such a thing of beauty I went to gaze at. I wanted to gaze at it on it for hours. The tip of the greatsword, broken. It's such a shame. It's been so meticulously cared for over the years. You can almost hear Karuma's sobs. Kazuma must have really taken a swing for that to happen. Why is Mikotoba staying quiet, bro? She hasn't said a word. I feel like this was planted. I feel like this isn't like... I don't know, something fishy's going on, bro. The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal. And he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zykes? If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you. We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now? Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. The man can't be located within half an hour. You will have to assume the worst. Oh no, not Judge Shikoku. No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who only just arrived in the country. Except that is... for the Reaper, wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago. I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake, my lord, I sincerely hope we are successful. If we're unable to confirm Mr. Chikoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Ah. Court is adjourned for 30 minutes. Oh, wow. Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare. I could hardly believe it either, but on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories. I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Chikoku, and I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control. I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options. Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear. Of course! The little Mr. Sholmes doll that Iris gave us. I love this version. This is Ryunosuke's objection song. I love this version. If for some reason you completely run out of options at the trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ear as hard as you possibly can. Perhaps now is the time. What should I do? Pull Hurley's ear or not? Here goes then. I'm going to do it. Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo. No looking back. Heave! That scream. Sound like Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Here, my dear fellow, here. It's the felt doll talking. Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can. All right, then. I'll pull it with all my strength into it. Heave! Ow! Please, my dear fellows, you don't need to pull my ear off. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse. The SS Grouse? She left over last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We are currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour. You've taken a ship to France? Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port. In order to board this vessel in time. So you mean you'd already worked it out? That steamship was where everything really took place. Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name? Herlock Sholmes, world-famous great detective. Recited to perfection, well done. You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes, that's the only word for it. Ow, 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 ow. Mr. Sato, gently with this genius's ear, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry. If I may, Sholmes? Ah, there you are, Mikotoba. You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse. At Scotland Yard yesterday when we examined that notebook, I recall my steamship ticket. But of course it was, my dear fellow. Not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions utter my name. Yes, you did, didn't you? Are we playing as Mikotoba right now? We've just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we're unable to present any new leads, then I'm afraid to say. Do not fret, please. It's for precisely that purpose that my partner and I made this journey. I have no doubt that we shall have welcome news for you within the half hour. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. Until later, then. Yes, you be hearing from us if you're not in touch first. Ow, 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 ow. I shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging in my ear in that mindless fashion. Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver operate in that way in the first place, Sholmes? Why the deuce would I know? It's Iris's invention, not mine. Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have but half that now, before the grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigation rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long. There are times, Mikotoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So, let us begin. Oh, it's this motherfucker again, bro. First class cabin number 2. Yes, this is the one. I don't believe an investigation of the cabin is going to be plain sailing. It's this guy from the first game. That crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fella. Why are you loitering here? Who are you? My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you? Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Tichkin Stroganov when you see? Great detective? Huh, I don't think so. Why does he have Sholmes on his arm? Do you see that, Mikotoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine. Goodness me! Is that a tattoo that says Sholmes? I must say, while such adoration is flattering, naturally, it does leave me a little cold. What are you talking about? Leave, now! How distressing, my loyal devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he's a shipman. Currently traveling the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact. How could you know this? Elementary, my dear Mikotoba. I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard the ship, you see. Looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jikoku. There's no one with this name on board. But we know that he purchased a ticket for passage. Ah, you mean Easterman. He left ship 2 hours ago. Here at Dunkirk. He said something about emergency, I think. What? Are you sure? So Shiro's realized that we're after him, has he? His cabin is the one behind you. We should like to investigate, please. No. I have orders not to let even mouse inside. Mikotoba, be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse so that he leaves the area. Doesn't great detective see? That even sailors have ears, both left and right. Curses! The plan is ruined. And you have only yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes. Forget it. Cabin door is locked. Even if I'm not here, you cannot get inside. Mikotoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you? Opening any lock? Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'd be so kind as to inform me the requisite time, old friend, and your typical accommodating manner. How could I refuse such a typical unappealing request, old friend? So I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I? Good man! So, the game is afoot. This is cool. I like this. This is cool. Ah, the switch for the electrical lights. Perhaps if I were to turn off the lights, the crewman wouldn't be able to see what we were doing. Flick the switch. Motherfuckers cannot pass. Ah, what is happening? Where's the light? Now, Sholmes, now! Nobody there. That was a close shave. Quite a knack you have stumbling so violently in an apparently empty corridor. Do be quiet, Sholmes. I shall have to think of another approach. Oops. My fault, bruh. There may very well be a young Japanese fellow inside, perspiring merrily. If you're referring to Naruhodo, you know very well that he's currently perspiring merrily in court. Does it not strike you, though, Mikotoba? Why the man stands guard only in front of this cabin when both are apparently vacant? This must be a mousetrap, I think. Perhaps I can distract the crewman's attention with this somehow. Sounds like a big mouse in the trap. I will bring bucket of water later and put out of misery. I don't like the sound of that. In any case, my dear fellow, that was quite unconvincing. Only Japanese mice make chew sound. Oh, really, shows. And pray tell, what sound do Russian mice make? PP, naturally. Though also quite unconvincing, I readily admit. Okay, so is it the bell? Do I ring this fuck-ass bell? Ring the bell. Set it off. Here goes then. Pardon me in advance. You! What are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be a very bad problem. What's going on down there? Seaman Stroganoff, report at once. Sorry, sir, not the report. It was just a stupid trick. No, not by me. By world famous... No, as I told you. Now, Shobes, now. Done. Not even 5 seconds, eh? Well, those standing there are gawping at my brilliance, Mikitoba, in we go! Oh, yes. Good gracious. It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly. What's clothes on the floor there? There are Seshiros without question. Well, it seems we are just a little too late. Yes, by about 2 hours. Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may be well 2 hours worth of clues to find in here. But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes. Indeed he may. Which makes this all the more thrilling. Ooh. I love this song, bro. Do 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 do. According to the report I was given, Naruhodo was concealing himself in Asogi's wardrobe. Indeed he was. And it was of similar size to this one. Ah! You must climb inside yourself, my dear fellow. What? Whatever for? It was the sight of my first fateful meeting with Mr. Naruhodo. You experienced the moment for yourself now, complete with my dramatic rhetoric. Come along now, and you go. This will only take a moment. Really, Sholmes? Surely you could just tell me what you said. Well, I uttered some brilliant remark and opened the wardrobe to reveal the stowaway murderer. I think I'll just read about it in the adventures. I think I'll just read about it in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. There's a speaking tube here, look. Though it's been stoppered with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose. Or indeed, so that the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere. Could something have happened here that was for no one else's ears, do you think? Either that, or it could be to prevent snakes from entering. That's really become a favorite case of yours, hasn't it? Quite the exquisite glass, I must say. See here how it... Is something wrong, Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off. Ice, Mikotoba, ice! What opulence the first-class passengers enjoy. Chilled drinks. Pardon? Could it be that this steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think? Well, it is a luxury liner after all. They have an enormous refrigerator for storing all sorts of lavish produce as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoy culinary delights from all over the world. Suddenly, Mikotoba. The sight of you is making my mouth water. I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know. So that's where they store the body. I've had it with these mo-fucking snakes on this mo-fucking plane. What are you talking about, Bendy? I think we found a refrigerator to keep Gregson. This is the waste paper basket. Look, and there's still rubbish inside. Indeed. Then let's pry. Snakes on a plane. Oh. I've discovered recently I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets. I sincerely hope only for your work. Ah. Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago. 3 days ago? The night before we arrived in London, then. When I was still aboard myself. Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew members were required to Okay. Ah, yes. There was an evacuation drill. I remember now. I wasn't able to read that. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers were constantly under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once. A notice about practice evacuation to be carried out by the crew of SS Grounds the night before the ship arrived in Dover was found in Jikoku's cabin. Who doesn't understand? Mendy, I get you. I'm sorry, I don't get it, man. These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or dangerous objects in their cabin. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and/or travel cases. I feel the rules have increased since the last I read them. Probably just by imagination. What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Doesn't that strike you? You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though. Trifle. You know what I always say, Mikitoba. There's nothing important about trifles. It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off. The wall is a slightly different color just here, do you see? Indeed. What you have observed arises when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief. Now there's a bold deduction worthy of great detective, I'm sure. He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late. I think perhaps we should focus on our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere. Can I look back on this? Okay, I can't do anything with that yet. It's a very sizable trunk indeed. Tashiro is partial to all things large, and a rather clumsy fellow if he failed to notice he'd left that behind. Perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but still a hindrance to a speedy escape. Pity. It's locked, so we can't look inside. Surely 5 seconds from now the situation will be quite different, though? Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all combinations at present. Yo! You are still here? Ah! Able Seaman Stroganov. Hello again. I was beginning to think you never materialize. Eh? You were waiting for me? Of course! I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner. I was in trouble with Captain because you've tricked you play before. Poor innocent Chichkin. It is all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off, now. Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow. But first, there is something that must be done. What are you talking about? Why, naturally. The debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth. Kakoi? I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Chichikoku has not yet left this vessel at all. Ah. And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganov. You know exactly where the man is even as we speak, don't you? I fucking... Is this another Sholmes theme? It kind of sounds like it. How can you... Good gracious, Sholmes. You mean you've worked it out? All of it? Dim, 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 dim. It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. This shit is groovy. So would you care to join me for a dance of my inimitable logic and reasoning? Nothing would please me more. Let's go, man. What is this? Let's go. We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Hey. Time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganov, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jikoku left the ship some 2 hours ago. With this last trial in this last chapter, bro, the music is going stupid. This might be my favorite music out of the entire Ace Attorney games. Like this game. Not this song, but this game. That is what I said. Dally, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it. What? Ah, yes, of course. I see you've noted it too, Mikotoba. Then please, do take the lead. What is in this cabin shows the possibility of Jikoku having disembarked 2 hours ago. Let's see what last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Mikotoba. It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3. Why, of course it has, quite. Now, all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe, and the answers become clear. So, impress me. I think I can manage that. Also, I like how Sholmes said not playing around this time, decided just to let Mikotoba do everything from the very beginning.
Take that!
Ooh, I like the way he says it. Oh! Hey! You got the tap dance going? Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass. How curious that ice shouldn't have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago? Ah. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival. With this well-chilled glass in hand. Get your mind off for the refreshments, Sholmes. One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff? But why would Sashiro run from us? Before we can consider that question, let me confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jikoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan? Ah, that's right. They are. I was in the cabin next door, and Sashiro was, yes. 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage. As I suspected, for you see. There are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jikoku had to hide. What traces? I know nothing about this. Ah, this is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganov? Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at? As I said, there are traces in this cabin of the nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure won't have escaped your notice. That's the key to this, Mikotoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place in here are being masked by something quite incongruous. I must say, I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikotoba. No, quite. My life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, let's see if I can't uncover the truth here. Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow.
Take that!
Do the tap dance. Do your little tap dance. Hey! It's the rules of the passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall, as if they were put there in a hurry. That tap dance is hard for real, not a word. Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. That frame was originally over here. The shape and size are a perfect match. Ah, you are right. When did frame move? Hardly the most observant of crewmen, are you, Mr. Stroganov? I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability. Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve. So, Mikotoba, why don't you lift the frame off that wall? I'm tap dancing. A nice little tap dance. A shot! Ooh. Think it's all coming full circle. Looks like a bullet hole. What? Who has been shooting walls? I see the projectile has been removed. Clearly the careful occupant in this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Shogunov. I have the distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try to protect Eastern Stranger? So we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep this pretense as clearly shown by... Yep, Cock. Yep. I really don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes. My dear Mikotoba. Simply first keep principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle. And I'm quite sure that you'll see it. In fact, I'd put a wager on it. So I'm gonna glare at the fellow from all sides? Well, I can certainly do that. A tattoo. Oh!
Take that!
He got bribed. Get that little tappy tap. Hey. It's almost too obvious for words. Quite. The universal language of the world. Money. I'd wager that the Easter fellow in question is Sashiro Jikoku, yes? So, I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin. And the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. But I believe you know, Mr. Shogunov. You know where Mr. Jikoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. As always, Mikotoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally. Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found the chink in this burly fellow's armor. We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. Slightest flicker of the pupils. A minutely delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible. Dance on him, Sholmes. I never thought a tap dance deduction would be so hype. This is good. This is good. I like this. Sholmes is actually being a good detective for once. It's not exactly what you described as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious. We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow.
Take that!
You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? He plays dumb because he likes to, true. And I think he does that for our sake as well. As in, like, Naruhodo's sake, I mean. The truth is, Sashiro Jikoku was unable to escape from the ship of time, and is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath in this trunk. If he still has breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible. But how can we? Are we forgetting about the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code. Combination lock can be opened from the inside of the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure. Of course. In short, before Jikoku hid himself in that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. As I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Shogunov. No, I know nothing about combination code. Oh. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman. Huh? Now, Mikotoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk? How on earth do you expect me? 5631045. It's a 7-digit number, remember. Quickly now, we have a little time. Can you let Kitty flip his arm? 5, 6, 3. Oh wait, there's no 6. What is that then? Oh, 2. 5, 2, 3. 5, 2, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5.
Take that!
My good seaman. Got it. Yeah, it was a 2 instead of a 6. That did it! It's open! You had to meddle, didn't you? Oh, wow, he is really in there. Well, Eugen, you found me now. Sashiro. I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know. But you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it. No, quite. I just wish it were some other way. Well, are you ever going to introduce me? Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've heard stories of many of your exploits. Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jikoku, my old friend and traveling companion. The devil is in details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say, your old friend and traveling companion. Who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour. I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Sashiro, are you going to explain all this? You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here on this very ship. By the Reaper of the Bailey? Yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you. I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when. If I had a nickel for every time we found a suspicious person hiding inside of a locked box in this game, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot. It's weird that it happened twice already. Technically 3. But it wasn't locked, it was just closed. You had Naruhodo in the wardrobe, then you had Drebber in the safe, and then Jikoku in a box. What the fuck did I do to you? It became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again. So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it? I'm afraid so, yes. Of course. I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you. It's somewhat surprising, I must say. What is? Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available. So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket, and here I am. I just seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. So you'd already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else taking this cabin and seeing the evidence, is that it? Eugen, I have nothing to say to you. Well, in a mere 5 minutes, this ship will set off in its voyage and not make port until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once. You have no jurisdiction over my movements. We have this, Sashiro. Take it. What is it? It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from British courts would be. You came prepared then, Eugen. Come on, let's go. One moment. What is it, Sholmes? Inside Mr. Jikoku's trunk, I found this rather fascinating trinket. What is that? Sashiro? I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what? I have no idea. By the look on his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know. Well, let's pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn in France. Oh yeah, part of Gregson's clock, huh? That's right, there was a part broken off. Well, young Naruhodo, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant. So, what we know right now is that Gregson was out for Jikoku's life, but Jikoku shot and killed him, from what we know so far. Unless Jikoku's covering up. Kazuma Asogi, I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie, but still, there's no doubt. That logic and reasoning deduction thing was so fire, bro. That's probably my favorite one so far. That you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying. During the past 30 minutes whilst this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jikoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained. We must accept the unfortunate conclusion. The Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. Prosecution calls for an immediate verdict.
Objection!
No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword. You should know never to presume when the battle is won. The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony. There can only be one conclusion, that the accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness, from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony. In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel. Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible? The witness is already on his way, and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness? Sashiro Jikoku. The very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper. Judge Jikoku, you found him? Ding, ding, ding. But the investigations of every policing resource of the capital suggest that Jikoku is already dead. How in the name of God did you find the man? He was located in France during the recess, at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one Mr. Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions. Herlock Sholmes. Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jikoku on the night of his death. Because along with Prosecutor Asogi, Gregson was on the mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Sashiro Jikoku is the sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grouse on the 31st October. I also noticed that you're now using the Phoenix Wright smug posture now that you don't have Kazuma's sword, right? The grandfather of Phoenix Wright. Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move to education at this point. Prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jikoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered. Kazuma or the judge? Oh, what? That killed Gregson? I don't know. Kind of leaning more towards Kazuma, to be honest. In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side? No, my lord. No objections, my lord. We live to fight another day by the skin of our teeth. Cosmo is sus with the sword. The judge could have fought back for self-defense. He was shot with a gun, though. And it's already known that the gun was Scotland Yard, one of Scotland Yard's guns. Who Cosima may have had one. Or it might have been Gregson's gun. But we don't know yet.